Hello, and welcome back to another Wildlife Wednesday. It's been a couple of weeks since you've seen a new one, but we've got a real interesting one here today. We have Alondra Quinones, a Bethel summer staff member, a counselor this summer, and she has caught a bass. Now, this bass is much too large to fit in this tank. This is about a 3-pound bass. She caught it directly from the pond and brought it up here. It's a little too big. What's the bass's name, Alondra?
Bob.
Bob is its name. However, because the bass is too big and because we already have these lovely bluegills, I will need to take it back down to the pond. And, well, while I'm taking it back down to the pond, you can come along and join me and maybe we'll learn a thing or two. Here we go. Okay, I've acquired Bob within a bucket, and I am taking Bob now down the valley trail and to the pond. I think I'll do more talking on the way up because I got to get Bob back to the pond. I've made it back to the pond. Glorious. And I will now release Bob. Say goodbye to Bob. There Bob goes. Bob was again returned safely to the pond, where he will live a happy life. Okay, I'm gonna go around, well, basically, I'll go around, show what's going on, because it's the middle of summer, everything's lush, green, and there's a lot of stuff that is in peak bloom, and a lot of animals and things that are out and moving around. Alright, let's take a look. So as you see here, oh, we have some parsnip there, yucky. But look at that, Monarda fistulosa. The wild bee balm. Oh my gosh. And bee balm, it's in the mint family. It smells absolutely fantastic. There's a lot of very cool things that the mint family has in it. Very cool species, very cool things that humans have done with plants from the mint family. You know, such as basil, mint itself, just to list a few. But let's take a closer look at this. Monarda fistulosa is a classic plant for southern Wisconsin and really just kind of all of Wisconsin. I mean, it's a midsummer bloomer. Second week of July is really quite, it's peak. Many tiny flowers on this one flower head. You can see they range from a light purple, kind of like this, like almost a whitish purple kind of color, to a darker purple like these down here, or even to a pink sometimes. They're quite nice. And they smell absolutely wonderful. Honestly, if you were to take a leaf and you were to kind of crunch that leaf in half and smell it, it smells a little bit like Vicks Vapor Rub. So a very pungent, kind of minty, fresh smell to it. Just a very important plant for this part of Wisconsin, especially for many pollinators and just the ecosystem as a whole. Very cool native mint. Oh. Okay, I just came upon this. Oh, in the same order as the mints, the Lamiales. This right here. Oh, Verbena pistata, the blue vervain. A wonderful, wonderful kind of wetland species, and of course, a midsummer bloomer. They have these wonderful little bilaterally symmetrical flowers. That just means you can cut them in half, but you can't cut them, you know, it's not a circle. They're not completely symmetrical, but they are, you can fold it in half and be symmetrical. And they're just gorgeous. They're these tiny little plants growing right next to lakes, streams. One thing that's kind of cool that I'm noticing here is, so you have this prairie. It's pretty tall. It's about 3 or 4 feet tall. You have a lot of taller grasses like this, some sedges. Ooh, this is a sedge, a carrot species. You have some goldenrod, things like that. I'm noticing some beaver slides, but I'm also noticing some flat, matted down areas. And now this is classic example of deer bed. Essentially, they'll come in here, pick a nice spot to lay down for the night, and they'll just kind of make it their home. Maybe for a few days, just a night, who knows? You know, whatever they're looking for, whatever they want to do. You know, it must have been a comfy spot. It looks like I am this is deer's bed not too long ago. We cannot avoid the honeysuckle, a pretty devastating invasive from Europe. And you know, another thing about them, while these berries may look tasty, let me tell you, they are not edible. These do have some toxic compounds in them that you would not want to ingest. They may give you a bit of an upset stomach, make you have a bad night, maybe a bad couple days even. Avoid the honeysuckle. Since it is the middle of summer now, cicadas are starting to come out, but also katydids. And katydids kind of look like a big giant, like a big grasshopper, a locust or something like that. They have big giant hind legs for jumping around and wings. You ever hear bugs chirping at night? It's probably a katydid, especially if it's in the middle of summer. And something that loves to feed on katydids are tree frogs. Now, if you know about tree frogs, and you know about katydids, you know that katydids are kind of relatively large. Like they'll be up to maybe an inch and a half, maybe even pushing 2 inches at times. And the tree frogs really don't get much longer than that. But those tree frogs have just such giant mouths, and they can stretch open their stomachs, that they will go after a large prey item such as a katydid, because it will make, their lives a lot easier, maybe even for a couple of weeks, if they eat one katydid. So those katydids are very important for the tree frogs. The tree frogs as well are very important for keeping the katydid populations down. Because if we didn't have those tree frogs, there would be a lot of bugs crawling around at night. Again, just take another look at that Monarda. That Monarda fistulosa, that bee balm, just absolutely dominating this little section of prairie here. Not an invasive, but definitely a very prevalent native. Oh, here's we have a summer camp group up on the cliff as well. Now, I just want to point out something. It may be hard to tell because my camera is adjusting to the light. Oh, I'm not very far away from, that sun-filled prairie that I was just in. Keep in mind, it is a lot darker here in this very shady, leaf-covered and sheltered section of forest. Because it's a lot darker, you have completely different plant species, completely different bug species that associate with those plants, complete different amphibians. Probably have some salamanders down here, which you would not have in the prairie. And you probably have some different bird species as well. And that's all just within a few hundred yards of each other. So, next time you're walking through an area, maybe even here at Bethel Horizons, try and take note of the different ecosystems that you might walk through. Now, again, to bring up the transitions of ecosystems and the entering of new ecosystems, keep in mind that an ecosystem is not necessarily what you would consider as a wild area, or like a prairie or a forest. It could be a lawn just like this. And kind of interestingly, there's a little section of lawn here that is too steep to mow, and so we have not mowed it yet. In the place of the mowing, some native and some non-native wildflowers have taken the place of the grass. So here we have a daisy fleabane, or an erigeron. It's a pretty common genus here in Wisconsin. And then we have, some red clover, a non-native but also pretty common. We have actually kind of a large variety of native and non-native plants, all growing here in this one little section of, this one little square of grass that is too steep to mow. So just kind of an interesting experiment that happened there, completely by accident. But again, it's kind of a good reminder that no matter where you are, it's almost impossible to escape nature and the things that live within it. So keep that in mind next time you are outside, and keep in mind, no matter where you are, nature is all around you. So thank you for watching this week's Wildlife Wednesday. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed seeing Bob get put back in the pond. Maybe a little congratulations for Alondra for catching that big old fish. But yeah, that was the Wildlife Wednesday. And make sure, before I see you on the next Wildlife Wednesday, make sure to get outside. Make sure to go to a nature preserve, maybe out here to Bethel Horizons on the weekends, or maybe even just around your block. Because of course, nature will never truly leave you. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. We have a family of geese that I am currently scaring. They're going up that beaver slide that's right there, that trail. Try and zoom in on it, but oh my gosh, I caught them in the act. No response. Okay. They're moving away with concern. I don't blame them.